So this is Omnisend's new reporting demo webinar. So today we're going to be talking about the webinar. We're going to let you know some of the new features. Anytime during this presentation, if you have any questions, there is a Q&A. It's separate from the chat. Just go to the Q&A, ask a question. We have experts there. They're here to answer your questions. With that, I will be your host. My name is Benjamin McWilliams, and we have our expert, Ruta. And Ruta, why don't you say hello to everyone?
Hi, everyone. One of the few Rutas that are here in this room, I guess. But I'm
the few Rutas. I think there's a lot of Rutas here tonight.
I don't know what's going on.
This is a very popular name.
It is. It's one of the most popular names in Lithuania, actually, where I'm from.
Lithuania. So Ruta is Lithuanian, and she also speaks Korean. Fun fact. All right.
Random fact.
Yeah, random fact of the day. All right. So, anyways, on with the thing. So, one of the biggest things Omnisend has been doing is they've been asking you, the customer, what you guys want. And this was the reason why we decided to do the new reporting system. Is we asked you guys, and we delivered what you guys wanted. Some of the main points is that we're not, Omnisend, we're not here to make the most comprehensive. We're not here to make it better than than our competitors. We are here for you guys. So if you guys have any questions, this is the reason why we have the webinar. So you guys can ask, we can help you out. Just for an update, so the new reports, we're gonna get rid of the old ones on the 16th, so that should be in 2 days. So if you enjoy the old reporting, time to use it as much as you can. No. But the new ones are really good. It's very easy to use, and Ruta will give us a demo of the reporting changes. And we've had a lot of questions. People are asking, just commonly ask questions, and we're going to answer those questions after Ruta has given her presentation. So let's see. So we've updated our reporting to be more intuitive, effective, and consistent. And with that, I think it is time to demo. Are you ready, Ruta?
Yep, I'm ready. So
all right, let's go.
Great. So I'm gonna share my screen now, and
now I'll stop my share.
Yep, and I'm going to be showing you guys the reports on our demo store. Going to be walking you through all the different sections and give you a few more tips, practical tips that hopefully are going to be helpful for you when analyzing your marketing strategy. So as Ben already mentioned, I want to highlight this again, that January 16th is the last day when we're going to have the old reports, or the classic reports as we call them. So it's very important that you get familiar with the new reports as soon as possible, so that when that date comes, which is in 2 days, you're ready to fully make use of the new reports. And as you can see here, in my personal opinion and in the opinion of customers that I work with every day as a customer success manager, the two key things that stood out with the new reports that help the clients is that now a lot of these reports are in one place, so you can analyze all your sales data, campaigns data, automations, forms, deliverability, and so on, all in one place, and navigate between them, and so on. And on top of that, one of the best things that was requested so many times by our customers is that you have so much more flexibility with the new reports. You are no longer restricted to checking your data with Omnisend's predefined time periods, like last 30 days, last month and this month, and so on. Now you can choose whichever time period you prefer and basically compare your data on a yearly basis, monthly, daily, weekly, and so on and so on. So here's where you can do that. And the new reports, let's say the sales category, you can choose a custom period. And I'm actually going to choose the last quarter of last year. thinking that I'm going to be analyzing one performance for the past quarter. So this is how you can do that. And let's start going with by each of these categories here. So starting with sales, you can see that the first numbers you find here is your total store revenue. And that, of course, consists of two main things, which is the revenue coming from Omnisend. So all the campaigns you send, the automation workflows that you have enabled, and so on and so on. How much of that effort has generated to you in terms of revenue. And you can also compare that to the rest of the revenue that is coming from your other inputs like social media, Google Ads, direct visits, and so on. So you can actually compare the percentage of revenue that is coming from Omnisend and your omnichannel strategy and the rest of that. And of course, you can filter out different time periods, see what kind of trends you see on a quarterly basis. Is that revenue from Omnisend increasing and so on? And if not, perhaps you should focus more on your email, SMS, and push strategy and so on. And moving on, you can see a new metric that we have added recently is that you can see the revenue per placed order now. And of course, that revenue you can compare what it looks like when it's coming from Omnisend or other sources of your marketing efforts. Moving on, you can now compare directly data, the revenue that is coming from campaigns and automations. Of course, these two are very different marketing efforts that you probably use. And you can actually select, let's say here, and check the analytics that are coming from your campaigns only, see what kind of revenue is coming from those campaigns, and actually compare them to automation workflow revenue too. You can see here that in our demo store, actually more than 50%, actually 60% of the sales are coming from automation workflows, which we consider to be good for an advanced user. Automation workflows really are recommended to put more focus on overall because they just work automatically even when you sleep and generate sales for you and really save you time rather than only focusing on campaigns and sending them on a daily or weekly basis. So seeing some good balance here or even more revenue coming from automations is usually a good trend to see. And moving on, you can also compare exactly the same sales, the revenue that is coming from different channels that you use. So here in the demo store, unfortunately, we only have email, but if you were using also SMS or push, you would be able to see and compare the data here. And of course, you can also compare the percentage of revenue that is coming from each of these channels. And just in our case, it's coming 100% from email and our demo store. And this will be a quick overview of the sales data. As I said, now you can compare that to different time periods and see different trends and so on and so on. If you would like to divide that data and revenue and the rest of the information coming from, let's say, your campaigns efforts directly, you could find this information under the campaigns tab here. Let's say, once again, I'm choosing the last quarter and comparing what kind of results last quarter brought to, let's say, last quarter of 2023. And I can see that the revenue from campaigns I got was this amount. I can also see the number of placed orders that my campaign efforts have generated. I can also see the revenue that was coming per each order and also the revenue per message sent. So as you can see, these are looking great. And of course, you would see exactly the same numbers for automation workflows too. So perhaps you could compare what does the revenue per message sent look for automation workflows, and what does it look like for campaigns too. In our case, a much higher number is seen for automation workflows, which is, again, usually the normal trend, because as I mentioned, the automation workflows are not only a time saver, but also they're just much more relevant for your customers too. They're sent on an email by email basis at the perfect time for the customer, whether they're abandoning a cart, placing an order, or something like that. So yeah.
Greatest part is it works in your sleep.
Yeah, I love saying that too.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, so moving on for the campaigns and analytics, we can see some of the other important metrics that are not sales, of course. So we can see not only the number of messages sent, but out of those messages sent, how many of them were opened by your contacts, actually. So in our case, we can see a 51% of an open rate. And an even important metric is, I would say, is the click rate, which in this case is 12.9. Just to describe quickly what is the difference between those two. So the open rate is count every single contact that has actually just opened your email. It doesn't matter what they do with it, as long as they open the email, they're going to be counted towards the open rate. However, the click rate is the next step in when reading your email. Whenever someone actually clicks on a particular link inside your email, that will be counted as a click rate. And also, of course, the final step is whenever someone places an order based on your email sent, and that we can see as 9.5. And you can actually filter out those data here again and just compare what kind of trends you have for the last quarter that I have selected here. Another very, very important category when it comes to analyzing your data with the new reports is, of course, deliverability. Out of those messages sent that we have here, you can see how many of those were actually failed deliveries. So these are usually when messages, let's say, bounce because the inbox that you sent the email to was full and couldn't receive the message, or some of the email addresses were misspelled. So instead of gmail.com, someone put it as gmail.com and so on, and we couldn't deliver that email to them. The next metric, which is called the spam rate, is actually probably the most important thing I would recommend looking at when analyzing your deliverability, because you never want to have a high spam rate in order to make sure that all your emails are landing in the correct inbox and never in the spam folder. If you ever see that your spam rate is higher than 0.3%, I would say it would be a necessity for you to review your sending practices, maybe implement more segmentation, review your contact list, or just send more engaging content so that it never reaches 0.3%, which is the standard set by Gmail and so on, that is allowed for senders like you.
So wait, did you say 0.3 or 4.3?
0.3%.
Zero. Okay, for some reason I thought I heard 4. Never mind.
Yeah. So never 0.3%. And of course, if you see that is the trend, make sure you review your sending practices. The unsubscribe rate, on the other hand, is not that serious. You know, if someone is actually marking your messages as spam, that is, of course, a red signal for providers like Gmail and so on. But if someone is unsubscribing, of course, that's sort of a natural thing that some senders see. You know, sometimes your subscribers might no longer find your emails as relevant to them anymore, and they might decide to unsubscribe. Of course, too high of a number here too would be an alert. But this is much less important than the spam rate that you can see here. And moving on, when it comes to analyzing your campaigns overall, here we have added one of the most important tables, in my opinion, is where you can actually see when you can actually compare your campaigns that you have sent, in my case for the last quarter, and see which one of them performed the best, the worst, and see what kind of things you could learn from them, from those trends. So let's say about all the campaigns that were sent, in my case, I would like to see which one of them brought the most revenue. And I could click here and filter out the data like that. I would notice that the campaign sent on November 18th generated $209,000 USD, which is a huge amount compared to the rest of the campaigns. I would perhaps analyze that campaign and see what kind of things I could implement in my future campaigns, what kind of lessons I could get from that campaign, and so on. Or I would analyze what campaign brought the highest open rate, which means what subject lines performed the best, and perhaps I could also learn some new tips that I could use in the future. So a great table here, and of course you have some channel trends for email. Since we only have this channel here, you can see what kind of trends we see for open rates, click rates, and so on. And a new thing that you see here too is you can compare, if you do use segmentation, which is very recommended to do, you can compare how your segments performed as well. And regarding automation, very similar structure of the new reports we have here too. This one I already mentioned. When it comes to revenue, you can also see click rates, open rates and click rates, placed order rates, and so on. See the trends, all the deliverability metrics, and you can compare workflows here too. And one thing I would note here is that you can actually filter out which workflows you would like to be included in this analysis. So I would really recommend when doing that, compare like similar workflows and their performance. So let's say you perhaps use, you have automation workflows in several languages, and you would like to see how they compare to each other, or perhaps you have like a lot of abandoned cart versions, or just separate abandoned automation workflows, and you would like to compare that performance. So you can select those specific workflows and the drop down here. And the same as with campaigns, you can see the channel trends too, which in our case, we have the email. So campaigns, automations, and the next tab would be forms, which is a little different. It's much more simple here. You can basically compare a few key things. Let's say out of all the forms that you have currently enabled, you can see how many views those forms generated, how many submits, so how many people submitted that form actually, and based on how many people viewed that form, how many of them submitted the form, so the submit rate is an important metric too. And you can, of course, filter out the data from the last 7 days, last 30 days, or all-time data. Before we wrap up, I just wanted to stress once again, deliverability is very important. So make sure you don't forget this tab too, where you can check if your domains are verified correctly, if your sender's email address are also verified correctly, and if you have a good email list hygiene. Here you can see, if you have some issues with spam rate reports, you can check your Google Postmaster deliverability metrics too if you use this tool. And again, more details about your sender domains and their email addresses, and even check what kind of issues you may have with specific email domains. Let's say Google, Gmail, or Outlook, or Yahoo, and so on and so on. So you can compare separate data here too. And of course, your email list hygiene is important as well. One final thing I'm very glad to share is that we can actually now export and download reports in specific timeframes. I know a lot of customers have requested this in the past. So like I showed to you before, I'm interested in seeing our email campaign performance, let's say for the past quarter, and I would like to share this report with my boss, my team. So what you can do is you can select this time period and go to the bottom here, and you can, if I can find it here. Yeah, at the bottom here. So the same for campaigns and workflows. You would see here, you can export the data for the selected time period. Once you do that, all your exports will be stored in the tab here, and you can select any of them and download them and share them with your team. So that would be a quick overview of the new reports.
So you would just click the exports, it would go to that page, and then you can download and print it.
Yeah, exactly.
When you were talking about your hygiene, I always like to think of, if you have bad hygiene, people, clean your contacts.
Exactly.
It's important. Clean them, make them squeaky clean. All right. Is that all? Is that all for today, Ruta? Is that all the presentation? Anything else?
Yeah, that's all the presentation I have for you today. Unless anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Well, again, if there are questions, there's a Q&A to do that. But thank you very much for that presentation. We're going to go to the commonly asked questions, where I will ask her the most asked questions. If you could stop sharing your screen and give it to me.
Sure.
You're very welcome, Belinda. We're almost finished. We just have to go through a couple of these, just a couple of these questions. Yeah, just remember, any other additional questions, you just ask in the Q&A. It's a different thing than the webinar chat. All right. Q&A session. So, are you ready, Rutha?
I am ready.
All right. Just want to make sure. So what is the not from Omnisend data gathered from? Because I did notice that it said like from Omnisend, not from Omnisend. What is that not from Omnisend?
Yeah, so great question. The not from Omnisend data is coming from everything else that is not your Omnisend efforts, not email campaigns, not automation workflows, not SMS, not push. If you're using that on Omnisend, these are coming from, let's say, your direct sales when someone searches up your website, online and goes and purchases like that directly. Any other marketing efforts you have, Google ads, Facebook ads, and so on and so on. So anything that is not related to your Omnisend efforts.
Yeah. So I was just thinking either they Google or DuckDuckGo. That's another search engine. Can't just Google everything, got to keep it
True.
spicy. All right. All right. So next one is why are canceled orders and returns added in the revenue calculation?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I know a lot of customers have been asking that. Yeah, the logic of how classic reports, the old reports are calculated and the new reports are calculated is a little bit different. This is one of the examples on how different they are. The reason that the new reports do not change anything when orders get canceled or returned is because when we look at your Omnisend reporting, we want to make sure we show the accurate data of how your, let's say, email campaign marketing efforts, what kind of results they produced. Let's say customers received that email campaign, they went ahead and purchased something. Whatever happens after that is not really, like, let's say, the fault of that email campaign. If the order was returned, it's probably because maybe it was faulty or something was wrong with the product. But the fact that the order was generated in the first place, that's what's related to that email campaign performance.
Yeah, so you're trying to kind of say that it's more of the success of the campaign. You're focusing on that, not necessarily the revenue generated. Because maybe that email marketing, it worked really well. People bought it. They thought, wow, that's amazing. But when they got the product, maybe they're like, well, it's not what I wanted. And
Yeah,
it's something that Omnisend can't control. So you
that's
guys
true.
just let them know this worked and this made this reaction. And is that kind of correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay. And maybe I just said the exact same thing you did. All right. Which reports show the customers that are the most/least engaged with email campaigns, and which emails had greatest ROI, return on investment?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, which reports show that customers that are the most least engaged with email campaigns? I assume um, you would like to compare what kind of segments are performing better or worst in your campaign strategy. So this again you would find in your campaigns tab in the new reports, and when you scroll all the way down, actually, you can see the segment performance section. So there you can see what performance each of these segments had. Maybe you use, some loyalty member segments. You also use new customer segments too, and you want to see which one of them is bringing more sales or more engaged with email. So this would be all seen in the segment performance tab, segment performance section under the campaigns tab. And the second part of the question that says which emails had the greatest return on investment. Again, this would be under, I guess, the campaign tab. And if you go almost all the way down to campaign performance, you can compare those campaigns in terms of different metrics. You can filter the data by open rate, click rate. In your case, I would check the revenue that was generated by each campaign. There's no specific metric in the table that says what kind of return on investment the campaigns had. Revenue is the closest one, but actually, if you would like to check overall what kind of return on investment your campaigns brought, I would recommend a separate tool that we have in Omnisend, which is, we call it Omnisend Return of Investment Calculator. I can send this in the chat here. So feel free to use this free tool on our website to calculate what kind of ROI your campaigns brought.
Okay, so I think if I remember on the presentation, like we did see like how many people were engaged with the email campaign, right? It
Yeah.
was one of those where we just look down, scroll down to the bottom, and it shows everything. Okay. All right.
Mhm.
Thank you very much for your answer. All right, I think we have one more. Let's see if we got one more. Yeah, we do. What is the difference between submit versus sign up rates?
Yeah, so I assume this question is about forms. So whenever you enable a form on Omnisend, you can see two metrics, submit and sign up rates. Submit rates are always the higher metric because we count every single time the form was submitted. Let's say the form was submitted and the customer was registered as a new subscriber. They were brought to the success message that says, thank you for subscribing, check the 10% off or something in your email inbox. Or they may have submitted the form and they were brought to the already subscribed page that said, thank you, but you already subscribed. So all of these will still be counted in the submit rate because these are all the total submits that the form generated. However, the sign up rate only calculates all the new contacts that have filled out the form and were registered as new subscribers. So it's a lower metric. It only checks how many new subscribers the form has generated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so just if I can reiterate, just so I can understand. So the submit is just basically you already have their information, and sign up is just for new people, like new people signing up for something, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, yeah, thank you very much for taking your time, Ruta, to give us this explanation. Let's see. Do you have any more comments or anything you would like to make?
Oh, that's it from my side. I just wanted to just to mention to everyone that, as Ben, you mentioned, the new reports were made based on all the customer feedback that we've gathered. So if you do have any more questions or just additional feedback of what you would like to see perhaps in the next reiteration of our reports, feel free to always reach out to our 24/7 support team and express your thoughts. We're always really happy to hear them.
Yeah. Anytime you guys have any questions, you can ask us. Yeah, as Ruta said, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And also, just to let you guys know, on the January 16th, so that's in 2 days, they will replace the old reportings and they'll only be this one. So again, we're here to help you. If you guys have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out with us. And I think that's the end of our that's the end of our presentation. I almost said performance. That's the end of our presentation. And you guys, thank you so much. Thank you, Ruta. And you guys have a wonderful day.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.